Well, there it is.
There, we actually did it today.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Monday Night Live.
Yes. The best
night of the week. The lovely Kate Semmens, Dean Nixon, TurningLeaf Health and Wellness, out of the wonderful sunny St. George, Utah. And man, we are excited to be back with you tonight and be able to talk and to share with you, as always, on things that are important for us to help people move forward.
I was just thinking, it's so fun that we say the bet. Well, we as in me, even though you said it with me tonight, the best night of the week, because it's a funny not socialist, but like social thing that Mondays are hard. You know, like, gotta start that Monday. Back to the grind, right? So we hope that this gives you a little bit of sunshine and you're back to the grind on your Monday. So
absolutely.
That's what makes it the best night of the week.
Yes.
So we're just gonna jump on into our topic. And because this is how I roll, to be as authentic and heart forward as ever, we did not feel that we could do this Monday Night Live and not kind of take a look at the current climate and the course of events that have happened over the weekend. But ladies and gents, it's a little bit vulnerable for us here in Turning Leaf to kind of tread on these topics where we normally talk about things that are for your growth and to help. Basically, we're coming at you as your life coaches, right? For 20 minutes every Monday. But our hearts are heavy today. My heart is heavy today with what has happened. Wow, the tears have happened already with what's going on, especially in our country, and for the beautiful people, men, women, and children of all race and color and religion and creed. All of the things that are going on right now. When you love people as much as I do and as much as I know that Dean does, it's really painful and hard to see that still here in the year 2020, that we're not as far along the line as we think we are. I think a lot of us. And so our heart goes out to everyone that is personally very affected by this, for all the people that are hurting and the pains and the sorrows as much, and the fear and the anger, everyone that's having a lot of emotion around this, which is another reason that we're kind of like, oh man, do we touch this tonight? But really our hearts were leading us down the road of what else can we possibly talk about?
It's time to lean in. You know,
practice what we preach, right? We're taking a healthy risk right here.
Absolutely. And you know, this is a challenge. It's a challenge for everybody out there right now. And you know, we are in a space where a lot of us are enraged and a lot of us are angry. A lot of us are confused and feeling very, very bewildered by the fact that we are. And I was telling Kate before we came on the air, it's 2020 and we're still dealing with this brutality. We're still dealing with these issues, this lack of justice, this lack of people respecting people. And, you know, we preach so much the acceptance of love and acceptance of other people, acceptance for who they are, but most importantly, the acceptance of self. And I know that it's been a big topic in my coaching sessions over the last week, and I know it's been in yours as well. And I think the part that we need to remember is that people need to be heard, and hearing people doesn't mean that we just listen to what they say. What being heard means is we need to engage, and we need to do what we can do. And when we see social injustice, we need to speak up, we need to speak out, and we need to link our arms together with those that are feeling the same way. We need to be looking for those that feel underprivileged or underheard. We need to look for those that feel as though their voices aren't being heard over the roars and screams of other things in life. And this is, as you know, our platform represents everybody, but we know right now it's about what's going on in our world around the Black Lives Matter community, and our heart is there. Our heart is there.
Absolutely. And because it is such a sensitive topic, I do just want to really share and point out with you guys that there's been a lot of Well, Dean, just like you said, like I think emotions are just really high on all the layers of emotion, right? Like between outrage, all the way down to apathy, right? Like people that choose to not take a look at it, that's not in their experience of life. So that whole rainbow of color all the way down through. And so wherever you sit with that, we hope that I love that you already brought up hearing, right?
Yeah.
Hope that you can communicate this in a beautiful, healthy way. We talked last week, I think it was last week, about once again revisiting that idea of that people are not problems. The problem is the problem, and we clearly still have a big problem that we need to figure out as a society, as a race, as a world. I don't think that just because we've had all of these experiences here in the States quite rapidly that this isn't still probably a global issue.
It is a global
going
issue on a lot of levels.
Absolutely. And so being able to really like lean in and develop your voice in a way that also is so kind and so respectful. I love every time we start talking about love, Dean always says, the Beatles got it right.
The Beatles got it right,
and that's one of my favorite quotes that you say, Mr. Nixon.
The Beatles got it right.
And so how, like, being able to figure out how to be able to communicate all of these feelings of being afraid and sad and angry and scared and confused in a way that doesn't fuel that hate fire, that doesn't just throw more timber on what a lot of us are experiencing. Because it does. It's not pleasant to see anyone or anything for that matter have such injustice.
Right.
Have so much. It's very confusing for us. I'm having a hard time articulating it because I'm so confused about it. Like
You're doing good.
It doesn't make sense to me, right? It doesn't make sense here in my brain. However, you see the videos, you see the rioting, you see everything that's going on, and you don't know what to do. Well, today maybe we can potentially help you come up with some different strategies of how to navigate this and the different things that you can do in order to be able to help us progress and grow closer together in all areas of our world and with one another. And so like always, I need action steps, right?
Yeah.
Like I need some action that I can personally be taking that I feel like I'm just going to be straight up. I'm a white girl, right? I don't really know what that world is like, but I can tell you that I love people and I don't care what color you are. And I'm gonna help stand up for you if you're being treated in unfairly with injustice. And I think that's a little bit of our hesitation coming on tonight and talking about this topic is because of the color situation, right? Like both of us not being of color, and yet that doesn't discredit how many of us really love and embrace every community that we have on this planet.
Right. And I think that's important. And I when we talk about those action steps and things that we can do, one of the first things that's important that I try to encourage people, because a lot of people are coming and saying, what do I do? What can I do in this situation? And how do I do this? And I love how you express this. So many people feel helpless in these situations. And the first thing we can do is, number one, is we have to stop taking things personally, and we have to start to personalize what's happening. So there's a difference there. We have to stop taking things personally, because a lot of people take things personally, get upset, and we're not addressing what the problem is. But we also have to take this within ourselves personal and say, okay, this is something that number one, I've got to separate myself from that immediate knee-jerk taking it personal part. But then the second part is I have to personalize it and say, what can I do? Mm-hmm. So the second step is to really start to look at what can you do. And there's so many ways that we can start to do that. And one of the first things that we can do is we can reach out and we can look for those areas where those injustices and inequalities are existing, and we can begin to do something about it. And everybody has a passion. Everybody has something within them that they are passionate about. right now this is right in our face, and we need it in our face. It needs to be right where it is. And I think the fact that we don't want it here is sometimes not okay. We need to be okay with those things hitting us in the face and paying attention to what's being said and listening to what has to happen.
Can I
Please
hop in here just really quick? Dean and I do a podcast, and it's called The Podcast right now because we haven't figured out its name yet.
We haven't gotten a name yet.
But it's our platform to be able to speak a little bit more freely about our personal opinions and our preferences, and to help kind of broaden the horizon, maybe do some glass ceiling shattering, like I like to call it. But
mainly because we have more time.
Yes,
than we do here.
more time. But however, we have recently talked a lot about on the podcast about energy and connection globally.
Yes.
And then we've talked on here about how sometimes we attract painful situations because we need to learn a lesson. And gosh dang it, people, how many times are we going to have to attract this lesson?
Right.
So I love that you're bringing this up. Even if you are not personally experiencing something over this, it's time to take this personal.
Right.
Not personalize it. Right. To personalize,
not take it personally,
take it personal,
but
personalize it. Everybody on this planet needs to get this. Oh my gosh, I'm going to mess that up. Personalize it in order for us to be able to heal it, grow it, and move forward and create a better culture, better communities, more love, more connection, all the things on the planet. So I love that that's exactly the first place that you started it. Because like it or not, something that is happening on our planet keeps swinging us around this drain.
Right.
Right?
We keep circling it. And that comes into another step, which is as we start to really pull these things apart, we have to start to look at what is being said and what is being heard, because a lot of what's being said and what is being heard are two different things.
Yes.
I think that the media in a lot of ways is really kind of guiding that. We've seen that happen a lot. And I know we're media at this point, but we have to be aware of really what the message is. We know that the brutalization, the loss of life, any abuse is not okay. The end. And when we get into the yeah buts, and when we get into all the other splitting of hairs, is where we get into trouble. And we open up the angry wounds, and we get people lashing out, because the yeah buts are what are creating people not feeling heard.
Right.
It needs to be any abuse, any loss of life is not okay, period.
End of story.
And on any level, to any human on this earth, and we need to be aware of that. And that's where we personalize, or take that personalized. We personalize it, and we say, okay, what can I do? Well, I get out and I vote. I get out and I let my voice be heard. I let people know that it's not okay. If I see things happening around me, I think that's the other thing people really struggle with, is they feel like, well, what am I supposed to do about it? Well, what you do about it is when you see it, you do something about it. That's the main message. The other piece is that we have to start to look for it. I think that's one of the other issues that we're running into in our world, because, in our world, we see it every day. In our world, we're dealing with it on a daily basis on so many different levels. And we're seeing it and we're dealing with it on a regular basis. But I can't tell you how many times I sit and I talk to people, and of course I don't disclose people's information.
Sure.
But people are surprised. They're like, I had no idea that these types of things were going on in my community. And in my mind, I'm like, how can you not know that these things are not going on in our community? Well, because they're not in my chair, because they're not in your chair. They're not in the position where you're seeing it every day. But seeing these types of things happen every day are where we've got to start to see it. We've got to start to find ways to involve ourselves in the solution.
Absolutely.
Rather than trying to make people the problem. And that's the issue, is we're making people the problem instead of the problem the problem. We preach that all the time, right?
All the time.
All the time we're preaching, if we really want to solve things, we have to stop making people the problem. And so that's the part that irritates me the most, is that we spent so much time through the years, and I'm going on, and I'll reveal, I'm going on 55. So I've lived...
Don't even look good for 55, folks.
So I've lived through, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and now 2000s and 2010s, whatever we're calling these. And as I've again gone through all these decades, I'm seeing things get better, but I'm also seeing things stay the same. And when we're not addressing the things that are staying the same, that's where the issue is, right? And so it really still is a frustration, and we've got to get involved. We've got to use our voices. We've got to be authentic. We've got to allow people to hear what we have to say.
Yes. And I think another great place, if you're thinking like, oh, well, what can I do, right, is take a look at your talents, take a look at what you're good at, take a look at your sphere of influence, and start there.
Yes.
And then, like you said, Dean, just really, people, open your eyes, be willing to see it. So much of the time, I think what you're talking about, another layer to that, is we don't want to see it, right? Because it's hurtful, it's painful, it's hard to see. And so you choose whether or not you're willing to see it or not. So take a little personal accountability and choose to see it. And then choose to use your time, your talents, your energy, your influence, whatever that you can, to help. And I'm going to put this one out here too, because I'm really passionate about this. I know right now, Black Lives Matter is the big one because of what's just happened. But I don't care if it's about race, gender, sexuality, like we said in the beginning, any injustice, any abuse, anything of that nature is not okay, period. And so those blinders need to come off on all those fronts, on all the things.
Yeah, and we need to be able to hear it, and we need to be able to do something about it. And so in our hearts, if we're taking things personal, that's one of the first steps. Am I taking this personal, or am I taking it personal and bringing it within myself and personalizing it as a way to solve it and becoming a part of the solution?
Yes. Oh, and how powerful is that?
And then starting to see it, we have to start to be able to become aware of where it is, and then we need to get involved and do what we can about it. And those are the things. And I think a lot of people are afraid to get involved. I think a lot of people are afraid for the social backlash. And that's one of the things that really concerns me the most is, people get on social media and they make a stance, and then they get this wave of social opinion back at them. And I think that's where we have to be very, very cautious and very understanding as human beings, is that if somebody is expressing themselves and you don't agree with what they've expressed, then scroll up. Right? Just scroll up. It's not that we have to start a war over other people's opinions. We live in a country where free speech is a part of this country. We, the people, we believe that we are all equal, and we believe we all have a voice. If you don't like what's being said, scroll up. Just scroll up. Don't hang on to it. Just scroll up. Right? And I think that's the part. That's the one tool I use. If there's somebody that says something, about my Broncos on, NFL, I know I'm simplifying it because I don't want to start a fire here. I scroll up. I don't have to feed into it. I don't have to comment on it. I don't have to start a fire or a war over it. But I can hear and listen to what people are saying, and then I can personalize, take it into me personally, and make a plan to solve what I can solve on whatever whatever I need to do.
So can I add one more thing to that? Because I love this beautiful analogy that you've created. So maybe even scroll down all the way to the start of your feed, and then make your own, use your voice, express it from your heart, make your own statement so that others can see that and hopefully feel that coming from a place of love. So once again, to simplify, if Dean saw something about the Broncos and then he scrolls back up and he says, I love the Broncos, and just lets it ride.
Possibility. You know, as long as it's not a reaction,
Absolutely.
you know, like if I'm not reacting or responding, because that's, I think, one of the biggest things is I think people need to have a safe platform to express their thoughts and their feelings. If it bothers me or incites me, I need to look at myself and go, why am I taking this personal? If I don't like it, I can always scroll past that. I don't have to let it become enraging. I can just say, well, that's their opinion and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I know I'm simplifying. I'm not trying to simplify or placate anybody.
No.
I'm just using that as an example.
No, absolutely not downplaying the situation.
But I think that we need to create this platform where we're hearing people and we're listening to what they're saying and that we're valuing what's being said. This is our time to respond. The time for people to, instead of keep looking for the divides. Now, there are people out there that are going to want to divide us. Right, that sells magazines, it sells shows, it sells, you know, people that click on and look at.
Yes.
There are people that are making a living off of dividing all of us from one another. Instead of dividing us, we need to start to lean into the discomfort. We have to learn to be uncomfortable with being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's not a comfortable thing to talk about abuse. It's not a comfortable thing to talk about racism and injustice. It's not a comfortable thing because it makes us look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what am I doing or what can I do? And if you feel helpless, then you have to start to find a plan of action to really start to navigate out of that. But we can't keep tuning out.
Nope.
And we have to listen to what people are saying, and we have to value human life and love, you know, humans. And that's the most important thing. In 30 years in this industry, in 30 years of working with people from every thing that you can imagine, crimes that have been committed to abuses and whatever, you know, I've watched and seen human beings. We are resilient, we are powerful, and we can be loving, and we can be courageous, and we can solve problems. But we have to start leaning in. We have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and we have to start working to solve what's not working.
Amen, brother. Amen.
We are out of time. We're over. So again, thank you everybody for tuning in. You know,
we love you.
We love you.
Share the love.
The Beatles got it right.
The Beatles got it right.
All it takes is love, and we've got to lean in, and we've got to love right now and solve the problems.
And we will see you guys next week on
Monday Night Live.
Good night.
Good night.